Hello and welcome to the iRacing Le Mans Series live on Apex Racing TV. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me is Marco Barbanera, and we're here at sunny Daytona, or formerly sunny Daytona, because anyone who watched the 24 hours the other week will know that it can get quite wet out here. Of course, thankfully today that will not be an issue, but we are here in the evening. Marco, this race is going to end during the night. And of course, this circuit, one of the few circuits optimized for night racing, to be a fantastic climax and a fantastic race for the entire hour.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm so glad you can join us today for what is going to be, I think, a cracker of a 1 hour race here at Daytona. The big names are all here, and we have some decently sized fields in all of the three classes. Even the HPDs have got quite a significant number of drivers in them, and we are going to have a lot of fun. Qualifying is midway through. We are 5 minutes in out of the 8 minutes allowed, and I think Sam, of course, traffic management very important, but also the draft is going to be super important. You want to stay as close as possible to the guy in front of you if you want to keep up with him, and sometimes a lapped car in the wrong place at the wrong time might spell the difference between finishing in the first place or in second place.
Yeah, it can be really difficult to break the draft around this circuit. It's up there with kind of Monza in terms of the slipstream effect. And so these drivers are so evenly matched, remember, by about a quarter of a second separating many of the GTE drivers, and these LMP1s might be a little bit more diverse in their speeds, but in qualifying, certainly they seem very evenly matched. So you're absolutely right, Marco. The slipstream effect is going to be crucial, and also the traffic management as well, because half the circuit, like this, is extremely easy to pass the slower cars, because it's a very wide circuit, the oval, and of course half the circuit is the infield, where we see Neil Andrews just stopping prior to. And yeah, it can be very difficult to pull off the moves there. As anyone who races in the Daytona 24 Hours in iRacing found out. And well, if you get caught behind a GT through a couple more corners than your rivals, that could potentially be your chance of the win completely over.
1 minute left, more or less, in qualifying. We are on board with Dominic Farber, who's yet to set a lap time, so this is very, very crucial. Do or die moment for him. You don't want to start at the back of the LMP1 field. Crossing the start-finish line right now, all the boost. P2 for the series leader, right besides Patrick Wolf, so a good time for Farber there. And Omishima will start in third, of course, former driver in the World Championship with the McLaren MP430. I think he will also be, well, he is doing some LMP1 as of late. Maybe he will also run in the Porsche World Championship. We will know. It's due to start, I think, in around 8 weeks, more or less. So we will definitely know more in just a bit of time, as the drivers are coming back to their pit stalls. And I think in just a second we will be able to give you the starting grid of the three classes.
Yeah, of course, Kazuki Mishima provided one of the most dramatic points of iRacing history, I think, when he famously went into the wall at Montreal with just 3 laps to go. And so, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if he tries to amend that by racing in the Porsche Series later on in the year. So, the grid, as Marcus said, Patrick Wolf starts on pole position, only 2/100ths clear of Dominic Barber. Kazuki Mishima and Nicholas Schneider make up the second row. Now it's followed by Chris Fuller and Dylan Mann. In the HPDs, Robert Tinsey takes pole position. He was just over 10th clear of Neil Andrews. Andrews has been very strong recently. Carlo Barty starts in third place. Johan Huff, unusually far down the field, in fourth. Unusual to see him 4/10ths off the pole position time. And then Zuber and Lavoska in that field. And in the GTEs, Josh Thompson, a familiar face, of course, to many, on the pole position. Hopefully it won't be Josh Thompson today. Ah, dear. Augustin Martin starts alongside him on the front row. Enzo Johansson starts alongside Jordan Weeks on the second row. And then it's Khan Cartel and Mark Fletcher rounding out the top 6 in that class.
Exactly. Thank you, Sam. As we are getting ready to start this race, of course, the pace car will bring the cars to the start-finish line. Hopefully, we are at the highest level possible of racing here in the Le Mans Series. Staggered start, so the LMP2s will take a little bit of distance between them and the last cars in the LMP1 field. The same will be done by Josh Thompson and Agustin Martin at the pointy end of the GT field. 38 cars lined up. Let's also get the strength of field as the cars are rolling up on the screen. If I can find the button, here we go. 4.1k LMP1, 4.7k LMP2 and 3.6k for the GTE class. As Sam, we are rolling and it's almost time to go. Like you said, starting in the dusk, finishing at night. The two PRT drivers first and second. And it's going to be a fantastic race, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Will they be able to lock out their start? You'd certainly back them to. It's not a particularly long run into turn 1, of course. And, well, there could certainly be incidents, maybe not in the LMP1 field, but in the GTEs in particular, and of course the HPD as well, could have some issues, particularly on the brakes, because those cars don't think have ABS. So easy to lock up and maybe spit into your opponents. As the number 1 and the number 5 approach the pit entry here. Remember, one pit stop in this race. Patrick Wolf can choose when he goes, and there he does. And it's a very comfortable start for him already. The two teammates establishing their lead. Umeshima and Schneider just behind. Man has got past, used to be in there. Back to the LMP2s. Robert Tinsley started on pole position and he is still in the race lead. But Neil Andrews is running wide and Carlo Labate is going to go through. Can Johan Hart profit from this? Should be a great four-way battle between these guys for the race win. But that's a fantastic start for Labate. In the GTEs, Josh Thompson still leading the way. Augustin Martin has maintained in second. And it's Khan Cartel who's managed to gain 2 positions already. Fantastic start for the Ferrari driver.
Mishima has got some problems. He's dropping down. Now he's in P7. As we can see, he's trying to get a move done on Nathaniel Lapson in front of him. But never a good sign when you drop this many positions in the opening of the race. And of course, something must have happened. Here we go. So this is the moment where he switched to the LMP2 coverage, and he touched the curb there, went wide, hit the curb again, and went into the grass. So it seems like he won't have any kind of damage to deal with, but of course never want to lose all these positions, as there is a battle for the lead between the two teammates.
Yep, Barber easing past Wolf. And of course their energy will be, well, their energy allowed will be reset at the start of each lap. And Barber has the lead. He was clearly very keen to establish that one. As we see side by side going still on, this could get messy. Falling off the circuit, almost off the camber. And yeah, that was Umeshima. Undoubtedly probably has a little bit of floor damage on that car, but it's surprising that he's losing so much time and seemingly just getting a little bit flustered in that cockpit, and he's lost out again to standard say now. And is he under pressure once again? Umeshima from another driver. He's all over the place. I haven't seen him on the racing line for a few corners now.
It seems like he's having massive understeer problems. In the first corner he locked the brakes, and with these cars, when you lock the brakes, you lock usually all 4 of the wheels, so the car tends to go straight on. It's a very, very unpleasant feeling when you lock up the tires in these LMP1 cars, I can tell you that. And Umeshima is now in P9, he dropped 6 places, so you are right, when you go in the gravel there, in the grass, you might have some floor damage, and it's important that you have these cars at 100% of their abilities, the possibility to go quick. So we'll see, because uncharacteristic bad driving, I'd say, from Katsuki. More of the strange lines. Not that he's a bad driver, but these lines that he's taking in these first few laps are very, very strange. Not what I would expect from a driver of his caliber.
Absolutely. Carl Usby has already gained 2 positions in this race. Fuller has maintained, as Labartzi now going for the lead against Tinsley. They've been able to pull away from Andrews a little bit. And this is a big moment in this race. Labartzi round the outside at turn 1. But as long as the leader gets it stopped, which he just about does, he should be okay. Now Labartzi will try to respond. If you can just get the inside into this one, he should be impossible to defend. But around the outside there, you're not going to have much of a chance. Just waiting for the inside to become available there, Labartzi, before fully turning in. And once again, he'll get into that slipstream. Not too much of a slipstream effect in this car. And we look to the inside here, it's such a risky move, and you can see why. Because the other driver can take very alternative lines, a wide line or a tight line. You can see now Andrews and Hart getting involved.
Yeah, nice train of cars in the LMP2 field. In the GT, Josh Thompson, he has got a decent gap, 0.8 of a second over Agustin Martin, and then Enzo Johansson is in 3rd place. We'll see if 0.8 of a second is not much. I think Martin will be still be able to get the slipstream of Thompson, as Labate goes for it once again at the bus stop.
Oh, he's not going to get any luck around there, and he's put up major offline now. And this is, well, it's not going to be easy for Andrews, because if he goes to the outside here, he's got to drive such a longer distance. But you can see who he's just trying to interfere in this battle is Tinty. He's trying to give the slipstream to Andrews, because he wants these two side by side. Wouldn't be surprised if Andrews can pull ahead as Hart tries to go down the middle. That was not wise from the Frenchman. And Andrews just about pulling ahead, and I don't think there's anything that Labartzi can do about it. Even coming a little bit under pressure, there is Tinsley as Labartzi tries to respond round the outside, but he might even lose out to Hart once again. But for now, he maintains that 3rd position. Great racing amongst these guys.
Fantastic stuff, Sam. I'm expecting these battles to go on until the end of the race, if these guys can keep it in the slipstream, because it's so tough to run away from your opponents in this track. Of course, then when you get to the lapping part of the race, that can change, of course. But Tinsley, the winner of the previous broadcast race at Road America, a mistake from Labate, and he's about to drop 1 place more, because Antti Levosca now is putting pressure on the Italian driver, and he might sneak into P4.
It's hard to imagine that just a couple of minutes ago he was fighting for the lead, was Carlo Labartzi, maybe even putting his nose ahead for the lead less than 1 lap ago. Well, look at him now, he's trying to fight for 4th position, and if he falls behind Levosca and loses the toe from Hart, so this could be really costly for Labartzi, who does back out of that move in the end. But Levosca offline, he's compromising all of them, and he's getting Peter Zuber now involved in this one as well.
It's always nice when we broadcast this series, because there's always something going on. There's a lot of action right now in the LMP2 class. Also, we have a battle for P3 in the LMP1 field with Niklas Schneider and Dylan Mann. We'll switch to that as soon as possible. But look at this, 3 wide through the tri-oval. Now 2 wide, Levosca, Labate and Zuba. Out of is this first corner, of course. Let's not forget, in the booth with me tonight, Daytona 24-hour 2019 GT winner, Sam Fitzpatrick. So he knows all about this track, and out of is that first corner. Seems very, very easy on paper, but it isn't.
Yes, thank you very much, Mark. I was expecting a couple of dozen of those mentions, but I'll deal with just the one. And down the inside goes Labartzi. Is there going to be contact between the two of them? Not quite. Levosca just going offline a couple of corners previously, and well, this is a similar position to what they were in on the last lap. Levosca managed to get the cutback on the last lap, but this time it's Labartzi who's lost out massively. And is he going to be under big pressure, just about being able to take the normal racing lines? We go back to the LMP1s because it's Mann versus Schneider. Dylan Mann really strong today, and he's up into the podium positions. Schneider clearly not particularly happy, or trying to put his rival off the ball.
I think he's talking.
Well, these guys. Sorry.
Yeah, Sam, I think he's not happy about this move by Mann. He went under the yellow line to get by this lapped car. That was a crazy move from Dylan. But he completes the pass and he is now up to P3. That was a... Oh, look at that. Ferrari is going all over the place as these two are still battling, and you can see that Niklas Schneider is not very happy about that. He's been flashing those lights since the first corner. You know that there are rules in real life about how many times per lap you can flash your lights.
Well, of course, when it's as dark as this, it makes quite a difference. Although as the driver flashing your lights often, it can be a little bit off-putting for yourself. As down the inside he goes, he's not going to hold back his Schneider, and straight through. Probably using a little bit of boost at the end of that straight now, will man try to adopt the same tactics? I feel like if he does, I think we might just have a full-on war, because we are approaching another GT. Are they going to do another Hakkinen-Schumacher incident? Maybe it will be Schneider this time who does it, but no, he just goes to the outside, man, leaving him room very generously. And, well, unless he goes for a banzai move down the inside, it's going to stay like this for the opening part of the lap.
I'm disappointed. I was hoping that man started flashing his lights as well through the entire infield, but this is not the case. And I also get it, but they need to be super concentrated, because look in front of these guys. The train of GT cars, this is crucial. Oh, Dylan!
Contact.
Into the gravel. He saves it. He lost a lot of time, and of course we'll have to see if that damage will be significant or not. And that was a very, very unfortunate moment. All these drivers battling. Oh, we have a big problem in the LMP2 field.
Robert Tinsey. And as he had a disconnect.
Race leader at the bus stop. Oh, he's out of the race. He already towed back to the pit, Sam. Leading the race. But that bus stop corner, always, always tricky.
Yeah, whatever car you're driving always presents different challenges for them. And, well, it's surprising to see the American make a mistake like that, just over-rotating the rear. And, well, it gives this man, Neil Andrews, the race lead. The old guard, Andrews and Hart. How many times have we said that? Not as many times as, well, we haven't quite said Wolf and Barber quite so many times, but they're having a victory race right now. As, yeah, Wolf moves back into the lead. Barber not being able to respond too much, but he's going to try to come back, but this would be crazy for them to go side by side through this part of the circuit.
As we are driving towards this beautiful sunset. Little bit of a mistake there from Wolf. And Farber takes happily the lead back in this race. Dennis Neidhart in the grass there. Garcia, last guy in the LMP1 field, I think has got a little bit of a problem. Because now he's in the pits. Okay, more than a problem, I think.
Unusual that he's gone back to the pit. Shouldn't, of course, too much damage, so maybe going back to the pits just out of guilt. I seriously doubt it, as we see Lavoska once again. So Labati's been has got past Lavoska, and Lavoska running really wide and losing the position to Zuber. Haag is right on their tail as well. This allows Labati to get away. Of course, now Labati in a top 3 position, but 5 seconds off the lead. How he'll be thinking that a race win was really possible, considering the issues for the former race leader. As these top 3 in the GTs closing back in. Martin, thankfully, managed to bring that gap from about 0.8 seconds, which is where you can start to lose the slipstream effect, to about 0.4 of a second, but it still has left him vulnerable to Johansson, who just runs a little bit wide. Will try to keep his nose in there, though. And now they are going to go side by side. Can the second place driver just fend him off for now? Johansson's still going down the inside. That's a really risky move, and they're just compromising each other right now, potentially losing time to Thompson. As once again going side by side. They're not giving up on this one whatsoever, but Johansson eventually having to back down, and going into third position, but that seems all a little bit of a waste of time. It hasn't changed their positions, and they've just lost about half second to the race leader.
Yes, and all this while there was an Audi going through the field. By the way, we can see there are a lot of Ferraris, a lot of Porsches, and a couple of Fords in the field today. Whilst very quickly in the LMP1 class, it's the usual Porsche festival with 4 Audis. Talking with the Audi guys after the Road America race, they were saying that they were confident in the Audi being quick on this track. So far we have one in P5, which is always nice. Seems like the Porsche is still the car. Is still the better car, as Eusebi goes wide and Lapson gets his moved on. So the Porsche is still the car to have in LMP1, but the Audi is getting better and better. Hopefully, it will be also time after. I think it's 1 year that these cars have been out. It would be great if they would equal the performances of the two cars a bit more, because the Audi has a fantastic sound.
What sound?
Oh
We got
God!
contact and half, and that's the 2 race leaders potentially out of the race. Hearth and Andrews, and I was talking about Labartzi thinking they could maybe have won this race. Well, I think it's put on a platter for him now. Question is, how much damage has Andrews got? Because we know that Hearth is completely out of this one. How competitive is Andrews? He's not coming into the pits yet, but Marco, I really fear for the welfare of his car.
I'm looking at the steering inputs from Neil Andrews. So Labate back to P1. He has been having a roller coaster of a race. I don't think that the steering is straight on that car.
Oh, now we got interference as well behind, and it's a 3 wide and inevitable contact. Zuba really the one losing out from that one. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a lot of steering damage now. That was going side by side with Antti Lavoska, I believe. Absolute craziness going on, because Hart is towed back to the pits, I believe. So he's well and truly out of it. A rare mistake that we see from Johan Hart. I don't think I've ever seen him make such a blatant, over-aggressive move like that.
I tell you what, Sam, these drivers have been really, really feisty tonight, especially in this opening part of the race. I agree with you. Surprising move. There are a lot of things that can go wrong in a 3 wide move, especially this early in the race. As Niklas Schneider is now around in the infield and back pointing the right way. I'm keeping an eye on Neil Andrews. Is dropping down now down to P3, and Jerome Hag is about to pass him for that place as well. And here we go. Say hello to the viewers on the chat here on YouTube. We have a lot of nice names, recognizable names. Of course, Dylan Mann is always racing and watching the stream, but also we have Harrison Finch, Marcus Hamilton, and a lot of other guys enjoying the show, also the regular viewers as well. We are so happy to bringing you the iRacing Le Mans series for the rest of the season, and of course don't forget, in a bit Sam will take the plane and go. Where are you going to commentate on the World F3 at 8:15 GMT, Sam?
Silverstone, a Grand Prix layout. I'll be coverage coming to you at 8:15 or 20:15 GMT. The race starts at 20:30 GMT. So certainly tune in for that one. That will be great fun. We'll be second round of the championship, and if anyone saw the Spa round, it was crazy competitive, absolutely fantastic racing, and should be the same. But of course, let's pay our attention to this race because it hasn't been half bad itself. As Martin really closing in now on Johansson, and well, these two squabbling has kind of lost themselves a chance at the race win because they've lost contact with Thompson. Credit to Martin there, realising that there's no points in going side by side once again through the entirety of the infield section and staying behind. But it does surprise me, Mark. I don't want to be harsh to these drivers, and I realise they are better than me. Of course, happily won the Daytona 24 Hours. I'm not so sure. But, that fighting that they were doing earlier on, was absolutely pointless. It's not going to change the results of the race in that exact moment. And they could have easily kept up with Thompson until the pit stop, saved some fuel. Instead, they've now got to push like mad just to try to catch up to him again.
I tell you what, I think it's the fact that they have been running this track for so much lately, especially the 24-hour race, and then we had earlier the Roar before the 24. Then we have the 1 hour race in the regular IMSA series a couple of weeks ago. They think 1 hour race it's a sprint race, so everyone I think is pushing very very hard because of this, and we've seen some uncharacteristic mistakes, let's put it this way, in all the fields. Look at this right now. There are all sorts of cars running together in the infield and then coming out back onto the NASCAR oval, as Dylan Mann is in front of Chris Fuller, Nathan Lapson and Niklas Schneider. They are all together. And I think they
there
are about
goes
to go 3
Schneider.
wide.
This is bold. Oh, there's no room there for Mann, I think, just losing out. As Schneider storms past the couple of them. And next up for him will be, Mann just ahead, so. It's rare that we see these large clusters of LMP1s all fighting amongst each other. Here comes Haag and Lebowska. They're now 1.5 seconds off Labate. So Labate not commanding away from these guys. If they weren't fighting, then they might be able to keep up. But I think, to be fair to Haag, I think he feels so. He's got to get past Lebowska if he's going to catch back up to the race leader. They're just losing more time as it is. And Lebowska doing a valiant effort at defense, has made contact, I think, already today, but he's still running in that second place very strongly.
Neil Andrews down to P6 in his class, and I still think he's got some damage, some steering damage. Let's see now, navigating through the infield, that is Dylan Mann in front of him. I think there might be some slight damage to that car, to the steering, also to the aerodynamics, of course, because that was a pretty big hit, I have to say. As these are the basically top end of the LMP1 field going through and still battling it out. Some interesting moves, and once again is Schneider and Mann. The lights flashing incident of the beginning of the race. In reverse now with Mann behind Schneider, and still the beginning of the race is still the beginning of the race right now, because we have 40 minutes left, more or less. Oh god! Dylan Mann is not wasting any time today.
I thought one of the HVDs was going to get blocked in there. We were almost going to get 4 wide potentially if someone went down to the apron. It's absolutely fantastic racing. Lupson now trying to get past Usaby, as they try to get past the GTEs, following one another through past the 306 car, nearly making contact.
Simon getting notice from the chat that Dylan Mann is sporting some kind of damage from earlier in the race. I think you didn't catch that with all the chaos that was going on, but this is some great racing between all the LMP1 guys. Omishima still, not where he should be, so I think he's definitely has some kind of significant damage to that car. And back in the GT class, situation is the same, with Thompson getting nicely 2.2 seconds over Johansson and Martin, who are still battling it out for the second and third place in the class.
Yeah, Martin can save a lot of fuel.
Labate with a problem.
Oh dear, the race leader again. Absolute curse right now. Absolutely incredible. We've now had 4 different race leaders in the first 22 minutes, and now we've got a 5th, Antti Lebowska. And here, this is what happened to Labate. Oh, he just went in way too deep. Tried to collect it and, got a big slowdown. And lost out massively. He'd already lost a little bit of time, I think, to Lebowska. Was only about a second clear. And, well, he's now got to try to make his way back through as Jerome Haag now goes past Lebowska. Lebowska getting caught behind the Porsche. And there goes Haag. So we've now got a sixth different LMP2 leader.
Hello to Florian Kruger as well, also a regular of this series. Enjoying the action tonight. Nice three-way fight for the lead in LMP2 as Dylan Mann came into the pits, then went out of the pits. Seems like a regular stop. I think the pit window is open for the LMP1 guys, even though we've seen some this season the LMP1 cars they can go a little bit longer than what we used to see earlier in the early seasons of the Le Mans series.
Yeah, definitely. I remember a race at Le Mans where they could only they had to fuel save just to get to the end with one stint. But I think there's pretty much no fuel restrictions now on those cars. They can brim it right to the tank, and so that means that they can pretty much go as far as any of the other classes in this series, which well, I think is a welcome addition. It adds a little bit of variability with the strategy. Apologies, Mark. I think I'm going to have to go off to prepare for the World F3 Championship. So I'll leave the stream to your capable hands. And yeah, we'll watch the rest of it before the World F3 starts in about half an hour.
Absolutely, and of course you leave us with another lead change in LMP2, and there's contact between the three leaders. I mean, I'm sure that the World F3 will provide a similar level of action. Thank you very much, Sam, and we will catch you in around 45 minutes for the World F3 on Apex Racing TV. Thank you very much, and catch you the next time.
Yes, thanks, Marco.
And so, with a little more than half of the race left, the battle for the lead in LMP2 is absolutely furious, and as you can see, Labate flashing his lights towards Jerome Haag. A lot of angry drivers there, I think. And, you know, there's still more than half of the race left, so they really need to keep their tempers in check, otherwise they are going to throw away a possible podium. We've seen over the seasons a lot of feisty racing in the LMP2 class. Le Mans last season comes to mind, for example. These guys know each other really well, they don't hold off. Labate trying to get by Haag, with Lebowska closely in front of these guys. The hard braking zone for turn 1, and Labate has to take a very wide line. That means that the status quo remains the same. Lebowska, Haag and Labate 1, 2 and 3 in the LMP2 classes. Andrews goes in for the pit stop. It's very, very tough to find the bravery needed to switch away from this battle. We also have a nice fight for P3 in the LMP1. This fight for the lead, I think, deserves to be in the spotlight right now, because we've seen in this class tonight anything can happen. We've had many lead changes, many mistakes by these three guys, and also Neil Andrews, Johan Hart with an uncharacteristic mistake. Robert Tinsley was leading the race and he crashed at the bus stop just a few minutes in the race. He was, of course, the winner of last week's broadcast race at Road America. Battle for the third place in LMP1 continues. Now it's Standa Senel in front of Niklas Schneider, and we have an Audi in P3. Audi drivers, like I said, were very, very confident about this car on this particular track, and having one on the podium is always nice. As the three leaders of LMP2 once again coming to the first corner together. A little bit of a mistake from Haag just as one of the Audis comes through. This gives a little bit of space for Lebowska. Labate gets bottled in for a bit. Now the Audi goes by Jerome Haag. Only Lewoska missing. It is Dennis Neidhart. And he goes through. Closely following these guys in the infield is the battle for P2 in GT, with Martin and Johansson still fighting. This has of course enabled Josh Thompson to get a decent gap, 4.2 seconds over P2 as Dylan Mann goes through. Once again, as we go into the tri-oval, it's Lewoska and Hag with Labate just a little bit behind, maybe due to some traffic. But it's, like I said, almost impossible to get away on this track, especially when we are talking about drivers of very similar pace. Even though Labate has not been very quick, and now he's sideways, missing the apex quite clearly in the first corner. So he is throwing away the chance to fight for the race win as Lewoska and Hag are pulling away from him. Meanwhile, I think, yes, Robert Tinsey is back on track after repairs. He will sadly won't be in the fight for the race win. After his big crash, he was leading in the LMP2 class at the beginning of the race. Carlo Eusebio goes wide. Chris Fuller gets the move on him up to P6, with Katsuki Mishima following closely down in P8, and Adam Hawkinson is in P9 right now. Back to the front of the LMP2 battle. We cannot look away from these two guys as they go once again side by side into the first corner. I'm quite confident, barring any unforeseen circumstance, this is going to go on until the end of the race, until the final lap of the race, as Jerome Hag gets his fastest lap of the entire race right now. Mishima and Eusebio 3 wide with a GT. Japanese driver versus the Italian driver. Into the tricky bus stop and out of it. Seems like Mishima hasn't been able to get back to his qualifying pace after that big off he had on the first lap. No visible contact with other cars or with the walls or the barriers, but as you know, these cars don't like to be thrown around into the grass or the gravel. His car was bouncing really hard on the infield grass, so quite probably he's got some significant damage to the floor, and that is never good, especially in a very high downforce car like these LMP1 prototypes. Back at the front of the LMP1, we haven't talked about him. Dominic Farber is sitting nicely after battling with Patrick Wolf in the beginning of the race. He has been able to pull away. You see Patrick Wolf is 1.5 seconds back, so not a massive gap between these two guys. Wolf, of course, was in pole position, and after a nice battle, a mistake by Wolf at the Western Horseshoe made it possible for Farber to take the lead, and he hasn't relinquished it yet in quite a lot of time. But of course, with the pit stops still left, anything can happen in this class as well. Jerome Hag going very slowly and missing an important part of his car, I might say, as he goes past the bus stop and into NASCAR 3 and 4, dropping down. Labate already went past him. Peter Zuba is going to do the same very soon. Another HPD victim of the bus stop, I suspect. And that's, I think, his race. So another possible candidate for the race win in the LMP2 class out of the race, out of the battle, is back into the pits, and I think he's not coming out anytime soon. And this will leave Lewosca in the lead with 2.7 seconds over Carlo Labate, and Peter Zuba now promoted to P3. Sergio Fernandez is in P4 and Jesse Kramer in P5 of this LMP2 class. Meanwhile, Carlo Eusebi and Omishima are fighting it out through the GT field, also with Hodkinson closely following. Comparison of the lap times, we always do this midway through the race or somewhere around there. 1:27.0 the fastest lap for the LMP1s, 34.2 for the LMP2s, the fastest GT 41.3, so you can get, especially if you are new to the series, an idea of the difference in pace in these three classes, as the leaders of the LMP2 field are in for their scheduled pit stops. Lewosca, Labate and Zuba all in at the same time. Crucial moment. Also important to talk about the strategy. There is no strategy. One stop, only 4 tires, only for fuel of course, no tires, and you stop as late as possible unless you are a strategy master, as Hodkinson had contact with Omishima. It almost ended up in a disaster. Was able to save the car now as Eusebi goes through as well, as they go out of the pits in this order. Here is Lewosca, here is Labate, and Zuba lost a lot of time. Sergio Fernandez, now the leader in the LMP2 class, temporary leader, of course, as you can see, is the only guy that still has to stop in his class, and I think he will take the hard left towards pit road this time around. With a little bit more than 20 minutes to go, it takes the left turn, and Antti Lewosca will be your new leader, as Omishima is in the pits in the LMP1 field. Eusebi keeps going on. We haven't showed much of Jordan Weeks sitting in P5 in the GT class. The two leading Porsches, as you can see, only a few guys have pitted in the GT field, and usually if you pit early it's not good for you, means you have had some kind of problem. This is usually the last class to pit. I'm expecting the same today, as these two guys are having a nice little battle. Some damage to the rear end of Weeks' car. yes, the rear wing is not completely straight, as Dominic Farber and Standa Senal are in, and this means that Patrick Wolf will jump temporarily in the race lead. So he needs to push really hard. 1.5 seconds is the gap to his teammate, so not a massive gap, something that can be covered, I think, with a particularly good laps from Farber, from Wolf, and maybe an unlucky rejoin from Farber, like near some traffic. Let's get the track map on, so we can have a better idea of the traffic. And seems like Farber timed this stop to perfection, because he has only LMP1s in front of him, and he won't be slowed by any kind of slower car, as the same can be said right now for Patrick Wolf. He will be probably heading for the pits after this lap, in this lap, and he has no one in front of him, or if he has someone like this car here in the GT field, he will be going past in the oval, so in the best section possible, as he is in for his scheduled stop. He has a Porsche in front of him, locking the brakes, very close to getting a speeding penalty. Dominic Farber had a pit stop time of, drumroll please, 38 seconds cone to cone. So let's keep that is the important value, of course, especially since these guys are putting only fuel in. 38.1 for Patrick Wolf, but that won't be enough. Dominic Farber still in the lead. Patrick Wolf in second, and Standa Senal in third, as Adam Oxenson also into the pits, coming out of his pit stall. So everyone in the LMP1 class has gone in. And now it remains to be seen when will the GT guys stop. And here is the answer. Right now, the race leader, Josh Thompson, he has been dominating this race from the first lap. He was able to resist from the pressure of Martin and Johansson. Johansson was being passed by Marcus Deck, by the way. That's because he stopped, of course. Apologies. As Martin goes by, and he will stay out for another lap. Here comes Josh Thompson with a 37.5 stop from cone to cone, and here we go. A little bit of a connection issue, I think, for Josh, and he's back, luckily. As you can see on the bottom of your screen, all or almost all of the GT field is taking their turn and pitting. Not much more laps that they can squeeze out of these cars. Labate, Levosca fighting it out once again for the race win. They have been fighting and fighting all race long. Many different drivers in this LMP2 class. These two guys are basically the last man standing. Peter Zuba is too far to possibly have a say if nothing happens between these two guys. So especially Labate has been very up and down all race long, as Martin goes in the pits from the leading GT, so that will probably allow Josh Thompson to go back as the leader of the class the next time we go by the start-finish line. So Levosca and Labate survived. A lot of stuff happened in this LMP2 class. Will they survive until the end? And which one of them will be the winner of this absolutely crazy LMP2 race here at Daytona, with a lot of stuff happening. Now, usually the rule of thumb around this track, especially in slower cars, is you don't want to stay ahead on the final lap coming out of the bus stop, because the slipstream effect is strong enough that the guy behind can make the move. This doesn't seem to be the case for the HPD, at least tonight, but maybe Labate is holding off a bit. He doesn't want to make a move this early because there's still 15 minutes left, as that is Hutchinson and Omishima going by. That is also Carlo Eusebio in the yellow car. Oh, Hutchinson is punted out of the way and into the tire barrier. He definitely lost on positions and some damage to the rear end of his Audi. Contact with Omishima there, and Adam goes straight into the tire barrier with the rear end of his car. Too bad, because he was having a very nice race, has been very consistent. So this will leave only the Japanese driver and Carlo Eusebio in this battle for P7. Chris Fuller is one corner in front of them, and Dylan Mann, sporting some damage, is just now getting through the LMP2 leaders and trying to get by Labate without creating too much trouble to these two exceptional drivers, fighting so hard for this race win. As you can see now from the sky, it is officially nighttime in Daytona. Started at dusk, and we ended up now at what is certainly a familiar sight for all of the drivers that have raced in these past few weeks on iRacing, between 24-hour race, the IMSA series, and now the Le Mans series, and that is the night at Daytona. Problems for Jesse Kramer. He was sitting in P5 in the LMP2 class, getting by a Porsche at the International Horseshoe, and then he lost the car, went into the grass, then couldn't control, and that car basically stopping right into the wall in what was certainly a massive deceleration. Once again, Labate and Levosca getting through the infield. Oh, Labate into the grass and losing first place. Another change in the lead of his LMP2 race. Strange mistake from Carlo Labate. No contact whatsoever. And and now he's got a lot of time to cover. 1.7 seconds. That might be the race winning moment for Antti Levoska in LMP2. Now Levoska driving through the traffic. This might be the last chance for Labate to make the ground between himself and Levoska back and maybe have a chance at the race win, but he has to hurry up because there are only 11 minutes left in this race. And the battle for P3 in the LMP1 class is heating up. Niklas Schneider, half a second away from the third podium spot from Standard Senal, the first Audi, as you can see. Also a great battle for P2 in the GT class. All these battles, of course, getting closer and closer to their tipping point, the moment of truth. Let's go on board with Niklas Schneider and see slicing and dicing through the slower classes, desperately trying to keep the gap as close as possible with P3, and of course trying to stay in that so important draft, getting ready to make a move towards the end of the race. Say hello to Chas Draycott, joining us in the chat as well. Esteemed Apex Racing TV colleague. There's quite a crowd in the chat and this makes me very, very happy. Always nice to broadcast this series. Schneider's got a fantastic run coming out of the bus stop. Will he go for the move? Side by side through the tri-oval. Nothing between these two guys as another lap starts for them. Schneider keeps third place for now. Meanwhile, we had a move in GT. Enzo Johansson went by Agustin Martin for second place in the class. Also in the tri-oval. But I think this battle is far from over. Josh Thompson has run away. He's now 9 seconds in front of Johansson. As once again Schneider with a fantastic run in NASCAR 3 and 4 and back to the tri-oval. It takes P3 from Senol. That was NASCAR 1 and 2, of course. And now they come out of the bus stop and to NASCAR 3 and 4. Using his hybrid power is the Audi driver, and he gets very, very close to Schneider, who defends blocks on the outside. Tries to keep a reasonable line through turn 1 and 2 and now to the SS and into the International Horseshoe. But I don't think he's going to get Senal off his back until the end of the race. And surprise, because Levoska and Labate are once again extremely close to each other. 0.2 of a second with Labate having a massive run through the tri-oval thanks to the slipstream. Lewowska has the inside line, which means he's able to keep first position through the first corner. And Labate now following through in the International Horseshoe. As they are overtaken once again by Adam Hodkinson, who is trying to recover after his crash a few minutes ago. As the Italian connection strikes again for Labate, dropping just for a second. Also Marcus Deck and Jordan Wicks are fighting for that fourth spot in GTE, but have to deal with a lot of traffic, LMP1s and LMP2s. Lewowska flashing his lights. I think they have a GT in front of them. Side by side once again with Labate, who takes the race lead. I think they were absolutely tied on the start-finish line as they risk a lot getting around this Porsche. Neither of these two guys wanted to leave anything for their opponent, for his opponent in that first corner. They took a massive risk. Labate is in the lead now. Lewowska is in second. Meanwhile, Schneider and Senol are still fighting, and like I said, it has been impossible for Schneider to push Senol away from his back as they go past that Ferrari there. That should be Josh Thompson. Of course it's Josh Thompson. Different lines from Labate and Lewowska going through the bus stop chicane. And every time they come out... Oh, massive risk there. That was, I think, Farber getting by the two leaders in LMP2. As we don't have many laps left. 2 or 3 at best. Another hard brake into the first corner, and once again the driver with the inside line is able to stay in front, but there is nothing between Labate and Lewowska. Lewowska tries to go around at the International Horseshoe, or just to, make his presence felt. I think if he wants, he can win the race. Thanks to he's had some massive runs coming out of the bus stop, Lewowska, throughout the race. So I think if he's patient enough, he might try to get the win there, but it's not going to be easy, and it's a big risk. Time Labate has a smoother run, let's say, through the bus stop. You can see on the bottom right of your screen the gap going down, but not quickly as Lewowska might have hoped. Luckily for him, this is not the final lap, as I think nothing, because it seems like there was a big issue on the live timing, but no, it's all good for Deck, Wicks, and all these other guys in the middle of the field. Dominic Farber then. In what will be probably his penultimate lap. Cruising along, nice fight with his teammate Patrick Wolf, who took pole position. They exchanged the lead a couple of times, then Farber checked out, and he looks set for another race win. Say hello to Federico Leo, the chairman of Leo Racing, if I'm not mistaken, a very, very new team in the Italian iRacing landscape. White flag in the air for Dominic Farber. Labati and Lewowska are following closely. And Josh Thompson is about to go through the bus stop and start his final lap as well. Labati seems to have pulled away just a bit from Lewowska. These guys are right behind the battle for P3 in the LMP1 class. As you can see, a nice shot of the front end of the beautiful Audi R18. Lewowska needs to push more, needs to have a great run, because Labati is 0.5 of a second in front. It was a long, long race, a long 1 hour event, driving through the night. Dominic Farber, your race winner in the LMP1 class. And let's see the other two battles, because they are coming very, very closely towards the start-finish line. Senal and Schneider. Schneider will have the position, and now Labati and Lewowska getting closer and closer. Lewowska using the draft, side by side on the outside. Who's gonna win it? It's Carlo Labati, the Italian driver, gets it in a fantastic, fantastic battle between himself and Lewowska and all the other drivers who fought really, really hard in LMP2 all throughout the race, in what certainly was a race that anybody out of those 5-6 names could have won. Josh Thompson taking the final turn, NASCAR 3 and 4, to win in the GT field for Trustmaster Mivano Racing. Enzo Johansson will get P2 and Agustin Martin in P3. Something must have happened to Martin, because these two guys were very close to each other, and now they were significantly apart from each other. Let's see, maybe something happened. No, this is where they made the move, so nothing to see here. But it was a fantastic race, absolutely amazing, and in just a second we will have the race results for all the three classes, and we start of course with the LMP1 field. Dominic Farber, race winner in front of teammate Patrick Wolf, Niklas Schneider in P3, then Standa Senal and Nathaniel Lapson. Chris Fuller, Kazuki Omishima. Then Dylan Mann, Carlo Eusebi, Adam Atkinson, Dennis Neidhart, and Mikel Garcia, one lap down. So the entirety of the LMP1 field made it through the end of the race. 0.03 of a second between Labati and Levosca, the Italian driver on top. Then Peter Zuba, David Dandelot, Neil Andrews, this is the top 5, and Sergio Fernandez, Ale Puoti, Robert Tinsey, the Road America winner, 2 laps down, Jesse Kramer, Jerome Hagen, Johan Hart, lots of big names having troubles in this race today. And finally, GT field, Dennis Neidhart didn't win the race, but I don't know why he's in the finishing order for the GTs. Josh Thompson is the race winner. Enzo Johansson, Agustin Martin, Marcus Deck, and Jordan Wixton. We have Neil Middleton, Mark Reichert, Can Kartal, Jonathan Dance, Sebastian Mallet, Michael Grossberger, Justin Klassens, Valentinas Marchenkovskas, and Mark Fletcher. And now I think we might have some interviews. We do. Absolutely we do. We have Josh Thompson. Hello Josh and welcome. Congratulations on the fantastic race win.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
So out of it was a nice race in all 3 classes. We saw that in the GT field you were able to basically stay in the lead since the very beginning of the race, and I think the fight between Enzo and Agustin really helped you because even if you have the pace around here, it's so tough to get a good gap on your opponents if they stay in your draft. So they battled hard, you pushed very hard, and I think in the end that was the key in you winning the race.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone knows Daytona is one of those tracks you can't break away unless there is a battle. Obviously, the 24 proved that in the first stint. Everyone was within a toe in a massive line in GT. So obviously, I knew it wasn't going to be as extreme. So obviously, it's not as much a fuel mileage race, this, because obviously it's just one race, shorter race. So I knew straight away I had to get on with it. I thought I had to break the toe, got a good start. I made a few little mistakes in the first few laps, just being a bit rough with the Ferrari. And once those two started battling, I think Enzo and stuff started like shouting each other down the voice chat about it, because obviously they knew if they lost a toe, that would be race over. So I was quite happy that they started battling, because then I knew I could control the race from there.
So Josh, we had the Roar before the 24, we had the Daytona 24 hour, we had that this track was in IMSA a couple of weeks ago with a 1 hour special race, and now Daytona. I think you guys have had it for this season, for Daytona, I think.
I hope so. I'll probably on the World Championship or something next. Or like Le Mans, like SCO or something like that. But nah, it's a good track. Like, as much as people say it's not a good track, it's an absolute awesome track to lap, especially when it goes through a transition.
Oh yeah, this was fantastic, and also I particularly love this track. I think that I was saying in the broadcast, because we've seen in this race many crazy moves by some of the drivers. There was a lot of aggression throughout the field, and I said half jokingly and half seriously to Sam Fitzpatrick when he was with me in the beginning of the broadcast that you guys have been racing this track for so many times these past few weeks that a 1 hour race now seems like just a sprint race around here, which is a sprint race, but when you are with the mindset of a 24-hour race, which was just done a few weeks ago, now having a 1 hour race around here is like, okay, we need to get the moves done very early, because we see so many great drivers like Johan Hart, for example, making a very risky aggressive move 15 minutes into the race, crashing out, and also in the other classes as well. So I think this was, having only 1 hour instead of 24 really made you guys think that you need to get the moves done early. So that was my half joking, half serious impression I've got during the race.
Yeah, I'd actually go with that as well. GTE, obviously, being at the front, I knew that was crucial. Qualifying had to be nailed. Lucky enough, managed to not be in that mid pack where I found myself 2 weeks ago into Lagos. I was at the back of the pack. And obviously, there, it's even, that one's, I'd say, even harder to overtake. Daytona with the toe, obviously, makes up for it. But yeah, I'd say the aggression was there. I saw it go 3 or 4 wide a few times at the start of the race in the GTE. But after that, it was just mainly avoiding the little incidents. Obviously, in HPD, I had one lap where all the 3 leaders came down into the hairpin and all decided to crash into each other. And I'm like, if I get taken out because of this and it's none of my doing, it's just there's just no need for it. So obviously, it is only a 1 hour race, and obviously, it's very crucial to get on with it. But it's a Daytona. Anything can happen with the slipstream. As long as you can stay within a second or two, it's really easy.
Absolutely, absolutely. It has been very very feisty in the in the in the LMP2 field. I can tell you that I suggest you watch the broadcast back because it was
Yeah, well,
absolutely crazy in that class. I think we had 5 or 6 different leaders.
yeah.
So we are in a fantastic track. Next week, another great racetrack because we go to Spa-Francorchamps for a day race. Then it's Le Mans the week after that, and we end up at Silverstone. I think the final hooray for the old layout of Silverstone, hopefully. So, I mean, it's going to be great. I think it's nice to have this end of the season with 3 great tracks. What are your thoughts about Spain? If you think that if the Ferrari still will be the car of your choice if you're going to race that week?
Yeah, it's good to see a good few tracks. I thought you were going to say Daytona again at the start of that. I was like, oh god. But yeah, 3 good tracks. I feel those tracks they won't hinder the balance performance so much. Obviously, the cars had a little bit of weight put on them. Porsche a little bit lighter than everyone else now. But I don't know. It'll be quite an interesting one. Obviously, ideally, I'd like to run the Ford there in prep for World GT. What goes there? So that'd be quite ideal to do it there. But I'll just test the cars. Obviously, we run the Ford and the sports car open and stuff like that. So, and so maybe got a set or 2 in the Ford. So might have to run that.
Thank you very much, Josh. Before we let you go,
Yeah.
anyone you would like to thank?
Yeah, you for starters for doing this. It was mega to see that hear that Sam jumped into our out. Hopefully, you can get someone else to help you out because obviously the series is great and it's proven every week. Massive thanks to everyone at Movano. Really, without those guys, I wouldn't be in the position I am.
Thank you very much, Josh. Congratulations once again, and have
Thank you.
a good night.
Yeah, you too, mate.
And so that was our only interview of the night, as we are getting ready to say goodbye for this week for the Le Mans series. Like I said, many times over, we will be back next week from Spa. On Apex Racing TV, the action doesn't stop because right now on this channel, you just have to switch to another stream. We are just starting with the World F3 Championship, and that is going to be another fantastic night of racing. Tomorrow, another double header at the same time, so you can have a multi-view tomorrow. We're going to have the BSR Radical League, and we are going to have the Sim Racers World GT Championship. That one is going to be one race is going to be from Imola, the Radicals, and the GT Sim Racer GT World is going to be from Bathurst Mount Panorama. The usual Friday off for us, and then Saturday the Euro V8s are back with an endurance race from Le Mans with 8 times acceleration for the day-night transition. Sunday we are having the Apex Racing League Formula Renault 3.5 Championship, and of course on Monday we start again with the BSR Monday Mazda Cup with of course Rick Motek at night, Tuesday the MX5 Pro Cup, and Wednesday we are back with the Le Mans series. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you today watching this broadcast, and I really thank you for tuning in. Like I said, switch to the World F3 if you want, or if you want, just enjoy your dinner and the rest of your night. I wish you a good night and happy racing.